We continue with Negotiations That Pay with Greg Pinio.
We have had some huge success at Reach Returns working with small groups of people, young investors as it were, working with them on the topic of negotiation. Part of the way we go about that, as I told you before, is to record them in a scenario where they feel that they are getting a phone call from a bona fide seller. And we record that conversation so that they can then listen to themselves with our critique and input about that particular conversation. I would like to, on this CD, give you an example of the type of conversation that they are a part of, as we will do a role play that happens in my life on a daily basis. And that's simply that a seller calls me based on an inquiry that I have told them that I have an interest in purchasing their property. But I'd like you to listen to this role play that we're going to do, this scenario with this seller. And I would like you to listen to the attempt that I make to take this conversation away from real estate and then back to real estate as the opportunity arises. So here we go. Let's see if you can learn something from this. Hello, this is Greg. Who am I speaking with?
Greg, this is Anne. I'm calling you back about a letter that you sent to my husband and myself.
Oh, Anne, thanks so much for giving me a call. I really appreciate that. And I sent you a letter, Anne, concerning a building that you have. And unfortunately, I'm in my vehicle right now, and I would love to have that file in front of me. Can you refamiliarize me with the address of that building, Anne?
Greg, the building is 2300 Yale Avenue East. It's in the East Lake area of Seattle.
Wonderful. That's such a great location, Anne. And that is a small multiplex, I'm assuming, from that address. I can kind of picture what you're talking about.
It is. It has 4 units.
4 units there. Have you guys had that building for a long time, Anne?
As a matter of fact, we have. We bought it when our daughters were teenagers.
Oh, my gosh. And how old are your daughters now?
Oh, they're late 20s, early 30s. They have families of their own now.
Wow. Unbelievable. So did you, you've got these 2 daughters, you said?
2 girls.
2 girls. And what are their names?
Sarah and Jessica.
Sarah and Jessica. Awesome. And they're out of college now and on their own?
They are. They live down south.
Are you a grandmother yet, Anne?
I am.
Oh,
I have
dear.
3 grandchildren. I hate to admit that, you know.
Now 2 and 1, or 3 from one and 0 from the other?
2 and 1.
2 and 1. Wow. That keeps you busy.
It does. I'm hoping to see them more often.
Now, this whole grandparent thing, I've heard it said that it's a whole different experience than raising the kids themselves. Is that your experience?
Oh, for sure. My absolute plan to spoil them rotten.
Unbelievable. Wow. And you said that your daughters live away. What area are they?
One is down in the Las Vegas area, and the other one's down in Arizona, so they've both become sunbirds, I think.
Wow. Unbelievable. So right now, you being in the Seattle area, are you able to see them often enough?
Oh, we get down there every so often. Jack and I go down there, but not as often as we hope to when he retires.
Wow, so your husband is Jack. I heard that name, and he's about to retire?
He is next year, as a matter of fact, which is why I gave you the call, because we've just been talking about what we might do.
So you and Jack have been in charge of maintaining and managing this fourplex since you've owned it. Is that right?
We sure have.
Wow. Now, is he the one that does all the handiwork, or do you chip in there, Anne?
Well, I pay a few bills, but he's the one that's responsible for going in the crawl space. I don't do small spaces.
Don't like spiders, huh?
No, I don't like the spiders.
So he is retiring from what business?
Yellow Freight. He's been there for a number of years.
And that's a trucking company.
It is.
Does he drive a truck there?
You know, he used to when he first started out, but now he works in dispatching, which is nice because he's home a little bit more.
But they have a lot of trucks, don't they? And I mean, that sounds like a lot of responsibility.
They sure do. It's been very absorbing the last few years, and he's looking forward to getting out of it.
Wow. And what are your retirement plans? What are you guys hoping to do?
Well, we're planning to spend some time with those girls.
Yeah.
We're Going to get an Airstream. As a matter of fact, we have just put down a deposit on an Airstream, and we're going to spend some of our winter time down with the girls and the grandkids.
Now, Airstreams are those? They're an RV. Is that a trailer or like a motorhome?
It's more like a motor home.
Right. So
it's its own city on wheels, practically.
Right. And they're the shiny silver ones, right? Those are those really nice ones. Isn't there a whole fraternity of people who own those things that they sort of travel together and they talk with each other on the radios? Am I right with that?
I think you've got our number, Greg. We have some other friends who have a similar plan.
So this is sort of like the mobile party, the mobile retirement party. Right?
It could be said that that's true.
That's wonderful. But you guys will hang out in the winter months, I assume, down in the Arizona, Las Vegas area to be closer to your grandkids and your daughter.
Yes, that's the plan.
That sounds like an awesome plan. Now, you guys have this building there in the East Lake area, this fourplex. Where do you live currently?
Oh, well, we're over in Magnolia, so not too far away from that.
And so you raised your girls over there in Magnolia?
We sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, we got it when the girls were in elementary school, I think.
Wow, what a perfect place to raise kids. That Magnolia area is so nice.
It is nice.
And what are you guys going to do with your home in Magnolia when you buy this home on wheels and start heading out in your retirement? Have you thought about that?
Well, actually, not too much. I think that part of the year maybe we'll get a house sitter or something like that. Maybe we'll find some nice college student, or I don't know. We just hadn't thought about it.
Haven't thought about that yet. Yeah. Can I go back to your fourplex for a moment, Ann? And let me ask you, in terms of your fourplex, there's 4 units there. Are they 2 bedrooms? Are they 1 bedrooms? Tell me a little bit about the building itself.
There are 4 units. We rent them for $800 a piece, and they're 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and there's parking, of course, and a laundry room, and I guess what else would you like to know? Yeah,
no, that's plenty at this point, but I just wanted to know. Now, you said you get to do all the books and that sort of thing. Do you have an accounting management background, or is this your test by fire to have managed this building?
Absolutely. This is just something that I picked up when the girls were young, and this has been my part-time job. Full-time raising the girls and part-time helping out with the building.
And did your girls actually ever live in the building when they were going to school at the university there?
They did. As a matter of fact, that's why we bought the building. We bought it when they were teenagers in anticipation of them living in it when they went to the university.
Uh-huh. That's a great location for that purpose. So
it has been. It's pretty close, but not right in the university area, which has worked out nicely for us.
So it has served its purpose for your original intended use, was to provide a place for these girls to have when they went to school, and now they're on their own, and Jack's just about ready to retire, and you guys want to hit the open road. It'd be tough to manage and maintain this building while you're on the road most of the year.
Yes, that's why we've been considering doing something about the building.
Right. And I'm going to make an assumption, Ann, that based on what you've told me, that you're wanting to sell this building, but you're not necessarily wanting to buy another building in its replacement. You want to reduce the responsibilities that you have around management and maintenance and be able to have your retirement free of those issues. Is that correct?
Oh, that's absolutely clear. Other than the building on wheels that I mentioned,
right.
We're not going to buy something else.
Got it. Okay. Well, I have, at least at this point, I would love to be able to meet with you and Jack, maybe sit down with you at your convenience at your home. And now that I've kind of got an idea of what you're trying to do, I'll grab my file on this building at my office and then just sit down. And I think that we've got plenty of different ways that we can go at this project to achieve your end of selling this building, of getting out of the management, maintenance responsibilities. Likely, there's there's a way of structuring this deal to be able to give you a real influx into your income stream, which this allows you to provide a retirement that is much better than it would be had you not had this building. So if that timing would work out with you, could you check with Jack, and maybe I could give you a call back later tonight or tomorrow and see what might work that we could get together?
That would be lovely.
Wonderful. Okay, would maybe about 8 o'clock tonight work for me to give you a call?
7:30 I think would be better.
7:30.
And that would
Wonderful.
be great.
And I've got your home number, and so I will run you down at home tonight at 7:30. We'll pin down a time.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm hopeful that gives you an idea of how I might take a very first initial phone call. I haven't presented any offers. I haven't laid out my terms on the phone of what I'm wanting to do or how I'm going to do it. I've tried to collect some information, but a lot of the information that I could have asked, I didn't need to ask because I have that. I can get that, I should say, from public record. What I'm more interested in finding out is who's calling. Tell me about you. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your grandkids. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about your desire to sell the building and why. Tell me about your retirement. I've collected all kinds of information right now. I know that they have got a house on Magnolia that they really don't know what they want to do with. They've got a fourplex over in the East Lake area. I know that this building has approximately $3,200 in rents. I am going to assume by the way she answered me that they're not charging for parking and they're not charging for laundry facilities. I know that 2 bedrooms, 1 bath in that area, that the market is more like $1,150 or $1,200 a month. And so I know that their rents are low. I think that I learned enough and the rapport was good enough to get off the phone and go to a face-to-face appointment where I can come and meet them together at their home. And that's all I'm trying to achieve with that initial phone call, is a bit of rapport and to set the stage for our next meeting. Now, of course, when I go meet them face-to-face, I'm going to be at their home, and immediately the conversation is going to start with, Anne, you've just got me too curious. Now let me see pictures of these grandkids. I want to see these wonderful grandchildren of yours. And there they are. And do you have pictures of your daughters? Okay, Jack, break out the brochures on the Airstream. I got to hear what Anne's talking about here. And immediately, we're still not talking about real estate at that point, but we're highlighting the points of love in their life. Once we have established that face-to-face, at that point, we're going to sit down and tidy up some issues and some thoughts around this building. But my initial objective, and where negotiation always starts, is with a relationship. And relationship starts by me knowing something about you and then you getting to know something about me. Okay? So that was a little role play that we wanted to do for you. Once I've established this rapport and Anne has graciously allowed me to call back in the evening to set up an appointment with she and Jack, of course I'm going to follow through. And right at 7:30, I will be calling. And at that point, given their time frame and making this convenient to them, we will set up a meeting to get together. Now, likely this will be in an evening when Jack is home from work, or it might be on a weekend. But whatever works with them, that's what works with me. I'll clear my schedule and I will meet with them. Because the fact of the matter is, based on what I've already heard, they've got a fourplex in a highly desirable location. They own it free and clear. Their rental income that they're currently achieving is low. All signs are pointed in the right direction. They don't want to buy another building, therefore they're not interested in an all-cash 1031 exchange, although they've told me, at least in no uncertain terms, that they are thinking about just selling it, and likely I can assume that that means they just are thinking of selling it all cash. What I've heard so far is that they're fairly simple people, hardworking people. He's working with a trucking company for many years and is on the verge of retirement. She's a homemaker, raised 2 beautiful girls. They have grandkids. She's worked with him to manage the building. All of that gets me off the phone and wanting to set up an appointment. And so now I would like to give you the first few minutes of when I actually show up at their house, how that initial conversation goes. Remember, primacy effect. This is my first face-to-face introduction. What am I going to be wearing? What am I going to be driving? All of those things come into play here based on what I've already heard. And so I'm going to be very casual. I'm going to be in khaki sort of golf slacks with a nice button-up shirt, but not a sport coat, not a tie. I'm going to just be a very normal hometown kind of person. Pull up in a very normal vehicle. This is not the place for your turbo Porsche. This is a place to just pull up in something that looks very normal and go in and introduce yourself to the salt of the earth. So, knock, knock, knock on the door.
Are you Greg?
Hi, you must be Anne.
I am. Come on in. Thank you for coming and making this so easy for us. I'd like you to meet my husband, Jack.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
I'm very well, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've heard great things about you. I hear you're on the verge of retirement, Anne says.
Real close, middle of next year.
And then how many years exactly? Yellow Freight, correct?
Yellow Freight. Been there 27 years. Started out as a driver.
Oh, my gosh. So you've sort of started and worked your way up and looking forward, I'm sure, at this point to retirement.
Yeah, I'll miss it a little bit, but I'm ready to get on the road and get on with the rest of our life.
And I hear that you have a real road vehicle in mind.
Yeah, looking to get an Airstream. Already put a down payment down.
Awesome.
He needs his shiny truck.
Yeah. Well, I've heard those are just unbelievable. I haven't had the time in my life to do any of that RV travel stuff at this point. I hope to someday, but I am privy at least to know that the Airstream is sort of the creme de la of the whole RV world. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're gorgeous inside and out. Yeah.
Well, being an old-time truck driver, you probably have an appreciation for good quality and good vehicles, I imagine.
It's such a comfortable drive compared to the trucks I've driven in the past. It's great. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. And your plans, Anne shares with me, down to Arizona, Las Vegas to be near your girls, and then wherever the open road takes you from there. Is that right?
Yeah, soak up some of that sun and go from there.
Wow.
And this time I get to go with him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And, Anne, I was telling my wife of our conversation the other day and told her about these young grandkids that you have, a boy and two girls. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Our girls honored us. They named the little boy Jack. Then my other daughter named her eldest daughter Anne. I think she was falling off.
Wow.
After her sister. And the little one is Sarah.
Awesome. That's, you must be very proud of those daughters. And now that you're grandparents, I'm sure you want to be spending a lot more time, more available down there with them. Now, what took them down to the Sunbelt areas? Is it growing up in Seattle, they finally had enough of the rain, or did something else take them that way?
There's a lot of great golf down there, too, Greg.
And they are in love with golf, or they're in love with men who love golf? What is it?
I think they're in love with men who love golf. I do think that's the case.
Oh, dear. Well, you raised those girls right here in this very house. You guys have been here a long time, too. Is that right?
We have, I think 35 years in this home.
Wow. It's a great area. This Magnolia area is just one of Seattle's most sought-after areas to raise children, family orientation, all the schools and everything. Just a wonderful spot.
It has been wonderful. We bought this house years ago for much less than we're paying for this Airstream, and it's just a modest little home, as you can see. But it was a very good place to raise our girls.
That's great. That's great. Well, I have been thinking about this fourplex, and in some ways it's a fairly easy equation, but not devoid of questions that I have around the whole scenario. Now, Jack, when you retire, I'm going to assume that you've got a retirement income that's going to come in forevermore based on all the years of service at Yellow Freight. And right now, you're achieving some income stream from this fourplex over by Queen Anne. by Eastlake. And my question is this, is it your hope that through the sale of this building that income stream in some way continues to come in out of the sale of this building?
Well, yeah, I think we were kind of expecting to put the money in the bank and collect that interest.
Right. And of course, you've got your Airstream that you want to pay off. I'm assuming you want to buy that, but that what's left over you want to have for an income stream to just be able to put in the bank and some interest to be able to travel and do your thing. Yeah. Right. Now, I asked Ann about this house that you're living in Magnolia, and what are you going to do with this when you hit the open road and are gone most of the year?
Well, Ann had mentioned that you had mentioned that on the phone, and we hadn't really talked about that much.
My question is, if I were to present something to you, at least the possibility of me purchasing not only your building in the Eastlake area, your fourplex, but this home that you live in Magnolia, if I were able to do all of that in one swoop, at least potentially, does that seem to serve your needs to get you this Airstream and to get you on the open road without having to worry about managing or maintaining real estate in the Seattle area?
Well, while we hadn't really talked about it until you mentioned it, it sounds absolutely intriguing because we are
a really good idea.
Trying to wrap things up here with Jack's retirement. So I'm not sure how that would work, but we'd love to hear about it.
Well, my approach to real estate and life, to be honest with you, is that I look at every situation as an opportunity to handcraft, custom make. It's probably very much like this Airstream that you have had built. I'm sure that you went down a laundry list of exactly the specifications that you want in it. Am I right?
Yeah, you just go down to, interior color, what kind of wood you want, all that stuff. Yeah.
Everything, right. Well, very similar to picking out something so beautiful and custom like that. I look at every one of these transactions as not a real estate deal, but a life opportunity to mold a situation into exactly what it is that you want to do, achieve those ends in a lot of different ways, but to get you where you're going and achieve all your objectives in one swoop. And that takes some effort. It takes some time. It takes several discussions oftentimes to really be able to pin down what it is that we're trying to do. So I would like to pursue that end and open up and take these things one at a time. The fourplex in Eastlake, then your home, what you're trying to do and achieve, your time frame, and almost like a puzzle, put this all together and see if we can't solve this together. And that's where I'd like to take this, if that works with you guys.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, what I want you to know on this CD as we're trying to do this role play with negotiation, and I appreciate the help that I've just got from Ann and Jack, I would take it from right there and I would start hitting on several points that they have made to me. They've answered some questions, but even beyond that, I've picked up on some things that allow me to take this in a certain direction. First of all, Ann has done the books of this particular fourplex. Jack is her support, and he's the one that has maintained, painted, cleaned up, handled any repairs, etc. on the building. He's the hands-on one. He very much wants this Airstream. And the attitude in what just little I've met Jack says to me that he just wants to retire, have his Airstream, and get out of here. Doesn't want to think about maintaining any more buildings, mowing any lawns, cleaning up after anybody. He's done. Ann, on the other hand, is the financial decision maker. And she's going to have to be the one to look at and feel most comfortable with the numbers of both of these particular possible transactions. There's some real clear objectives on the table. One, there's going to have to be some new money interjected into this somehow. They need $190,000 to cash out this Airstream. There's no negotiation there. They're not going to make payments on an Airstream. I don't care how much money they have coming in, they are not going to make payments on an Airstream. That is the direction this boat is going. I'm not going to try to change their mind there. It's up to me now to figure out a way to make them an offer on these two particular properties with some sort of game plan that I have in my mind. But the bottom line is that they're going to need $190,000 of new money coming into the equation, plus all of their closing costs. They need to walk out of escrow with these two situations with at least $190,000. Likely, I'd like to propose something that's going to send them out the door with the 190, maybe 40 or 50 more, so that they can put some money in the bank for kind of an emergency fund. And then my deal would work on from there to structure something that gives them an income stream for the balance of their equity in these two properties. Exactly what my offer would be a function of what my game plan is for each particular property. The fourplex is in an area I would love to own and keep for a long period of time. Consequently, I'm less concerned about sales price there. I'm more concerned about monthly payment. On the house in Magnolia, there is no way I'm going to buy that and hope to rent it for its payments. Consequently, I'm looking at sales price being the more important part of the equation, because likely what I would do on that property would be to improve it, clean it up, and sell it and make a profit. Now, none of my game plan is going to come out in terms of what they are aware of in my negotiation. But I'm very aware of what they need and what their objectives are. And from there, it's up to me to subtly structure something and present it that flows onto the freeway, like an on-ramp onto the freeway in the direction they're going. And encourage certain things. It's going to be so great to be down south with your kids. So great to be accessible to your grandkids. I'm going to make a huge assumption that they've got these two beautiful daughters, and they are going to want to be close and right there available with their grandkids. I'm going to accentuate the idea that they have had custom built this Airstream that is sitting there waiting for their delivery. And Jack, more than anyone, is just excited to get that thing and take off out of here. So these are things I'm going to hammer how exciting that proposition is. The other thing is I can feel just in the tone and demeanor in just the few minutes that I've met with Jack is that he is perhaps a little more anxious even than Anne, and yet at least on the surface. But Anne is trying to play it a little more reserved and a little more tight to the vest because she's the numbers person. She's aware of the house down the street that sold for $550. Jack is showing his colors a little bit more right on the table in very subtle ways. And that is that he's a little more anxious to get out of town. And show me a deal that works, you bet. That sounds great. He's very quick to affirm that just let's get this done and let's get us out of town. Likely because, he's been at work for 27, 28 years. He's tired. He wants to retire. He's also on the side maintain this fourplex as well as maintain this house that they live in. And the idea of eliminating those three things from his life and getting in his brand new Airstream that he's so excited about and getting out of town, that is the key that I want to hit on with him. So I also, if I can get him going in that direction and excited, he will be the one to convince Anne. I don't need to convince Anne. In their own private time, he's going to be the one to say, look, here's a way. This is like too easy. We can sell both these buildings to Greg. He's going to give us all of what we need. He's going to give us an income stream. I'm going to present this proposition to them in such a way that I completely want them to check me out in every way, shape, and form. I'm also going to pick up on the fact that they're in their 60s, they're very old school, they're very conservative, so we will certainly bring up the topic of the handshake, trustworthiness. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we just all did what we said we were going to do? Because everything in these people says that they are that type of people. So that's all the direction the boat's already going. And so this would be a real simple deal to then start inserting some propositions and some terms that get them exactly what they want, set up a time frame to meet their needs, write non-contingent deals so that they know that their future is absolutely and completely locked up and done. So that's where I wanted to go with this. And that is the role play that we had for you today to try to give you an example of just how it is that I talk with people. and the opportunities that they give me to take the thrust of their rocket and just tap the nose in directions that I'm trying to move them. We laid out the very fact that 24/7 in our lives, in business and personal, that we're negotiating all the time, in subtle ways and in very direct ways. Another topic that we're involved with constantly in our business is the negotiations that we have with our investors. Now, negotiations with sellers is not so very different than negotiations with investors. However, I feel that we can put investors into two very distinct categories, and that is those who are very simple, goal-oriented investors and those who are more professional investors whose goals are a bit more complex. Investors with simple goals are obviously what we would like to have an abundance of in our portfolio. Those are investors who simply are asking for an income stream on invested dollar. So they may invest $100,000 with you. They are happy with a 6% return on that investment, and that you're to pay them $500 a month or more, and that $100,000 is collateralized by a deed of trust on some investment grade building, whereby the income stream for that particular building allows for payment of those invested dollars. That's as simple as it gets. Now, where are those people? Well, this is one of the topics we cover in detail in our Foundations for Freedom series, our seminar, and our CDs. But let me just ask you a question around that. How many billions of dollars do you think are sitting in passbook savings accounts in this country? Simple 1-2% savings accounts. And I suppose that's the answer to your question right there. Those people who have that kind of money in a bank savings account drawing 1 or 2% interest, you are an income stream that represents 3 times the interest that they're currently achieving. It's up to you to find those people and to simply ask questions of proposition around the dollars that they have, and wouldn't they be better served in your investment portfolio achieving 5, 6, 7% interest secured by real estate versus being in a bank at 1, 2, 3% interest secured by an FDIC insurance policy. Okay? That's a very simple investor. And I will tell you that in my portfolio, that represents 100% of the investors that I have. The other category of investor is more complex in the nature of their goals. That investor is going to want some points up front for their dollars. They're going to want a higher interest rate. Likely they're going to want collateral that represents no more than a certain loan-to-value ratio on the particular property. And very oftentimes they would like an equity piece of the property if indeed you decide to sell it in the future. Well, those are business professionals, investors in the business of lending money to make money. Now, that's a very different kind of investor. And so in your negotiation and looking for investment dollars, I would suggest that you are out there asking questions of proposition around people with much more simple investment goals. Simply interest income, well collateralized. That's what we're looking for. Under the heading of investors, I suppose we should tackle the negotiations that you may have with bankers, because bankers are your investors as well. They're people lending you money to do your business, to buy your real estate. Suffice it to say that that primacy effect is critical when it comes to negotiating with bankers. If I ever am in need of a loan to buy a building of any kind, and I need to go to a bank to achieve that end, I'm going to put a package together and put it in front of the bank that is so impressive that if they have to ask me for anything whatsoever, it means that I have failed in doing my job properly. So I know that that banker is going to want to have a detailed schedule of real estate owned and all of the cash flow and equities associated with those pieces of real property. They're going to want a financial statement. They're going to want an updated credit report. They're going to want a resume. They're going to want a proposition around the subject property that I'm wanting to buy, etc., etc., etc. And I'm going to package a portfolio together, complete with pictures, etc., that gives them everything they could possibly want. And when I lay it in front of them and they take this huge portfolio to loan committee, likely they won't get past the third or fourth page. And they have concluded that, you know what, this person is so organized and so on top of it and so upfront with all of their material, this is the kind of person we want to invest in. So loan approved. Let's just get the appraisal and move forward with it. Those people that come with their proposition stuffed in a shoebox and in their back pocket and this and that, and then lay it in front of the banker and say, hey, can you give me $700,000 to buy this building? And they don't so much as have an address of the building they're wanting to buy. Why they're surprised when the answer is no is beyond me. Primacy effect, recency effect. Run a business. Be a professional. Put it in front of people so that there's no question that you know what you're doing, that your competence absolutely and completely shines through. But from the investment standpoint, be on the hunt constantly, just like you're on the hunt for good investment property. Be on the hunt for simple, goal-oriented investors, because this is where you can borrow money, no fee, that becomes negotiable for a lifetime. Much different than borrowing from banks. If any of that is at all confusing, I would love to refer you to our Foundations for Freedom seminar material, CDs, and or live seminar, because we will spend an entire day talking about negotiating terms of the transaction and the money that makes that transaction happen. So this is just a little highlight to get your brain going that negotiation for investment dollars is something that also happens constantly in your world under the topic of negotiation. When negotiating with investors who have simple goals, I want you to keep in mind, back to Aristotle, the topic of logos. Is your proposition reasonable? I see students and people out there all the time wishing upon what star I don't know, that they can find investors willing to lend their money to them at 1 or 2% interest. That's just not reasonable. If banks are lending money at 6 and 7%, it's reasonable that you may be able to borrow money from investors at 5 or 6%. But essentially treat them with the kind of respect and dignity that you would treat a bank with, in that they are your banker, essentially. They're the ones lending you the money. Give them an interest rate that is better than they could do anywhere else. Logos, your proposition needs to be reasonable. So I wanted to underline that point because that's something that, again, we're building long-term relationships with these investors. And time again, if you treat them well, pay them on time, you'll be able to come back to that resource. As you make them money and they're doing what they need to do in life, that well is always going to be available to you to go back and borrow more money from them. But treat them well, collateralize that money well, and it will always be there for you. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that when you go to a banker, I would like you to, no matter what your current status is, whether you're just starting or whether you've got 200 units, present yourself to them in your very best light. To be very organized, to provide them letters of references about who you are, to provide them a resume of anything that you've achieved in your life. Let them in on who you are and what you're about and the kind of values that you live your life by. Obviously, if you've got a financial statement, tax returns, a portfolio of real estate owned, all of those factors need to be put in front of them and packaged neatly so that they can understand who you are and what you're about. But that, it doesn't matter whether you are starting with very little or whether you have a lot. The idea is to make that first impression with your banker and make it a good one. I hope it's apparent to you at this point that negotiation is a much bigger topic than some small cookie cutter that you drag out of your drawer and apply to every situation in your business. Negotiation is everywhere. It's about every minute of every day in our life. True negotiations are focused on the seller in this case. They're focused on the needs of the seller. All of the questions that you ask to discover those puzzle pieces, turn those puzzle pieces over. All of the inquiries you make into the attitudes and beliefs, every bit of history you can find out about the seller and every bit of their future that you can find out about the seller. These are all components that you will work into your negotiation. Again, your proposition isn't even to be known, oftentimes, to the particular seller. The best negotiations are when your proposition comes onto the freeway and merges into the direction of their life where they don't even realize that you've just jumped in the boat right next to them. It seems ludicrous, and I hope you see this now, that after our little example where we have Anne and Jack, there is no cookie cutter on planet Earth that is going to fit their needs and their goals and their desires appropriately. Negotiations are not about a little tiny formula that we pull out and apply given a situation. They're about a sincere interest in people to listen to who they are, what they want, look them in the eye, sit down, and then design a proposition to where it merges on to the direction they are already going. Remember, we don't change people's minds. This isn't argument. This is negotiation. And negotiation is subtle and it needs to be sincere. As real estate investors, it goes without saying that we have an objective for our side of the negotiation. We're educated. We know what we're wanting to do and how we're wanting to do it. I'm not saying we walk in blind and, of course, just give the seller everything they want and completely negate our own objectives and strategies and our own needs as an investor. What I am saying is that we need to incorporate what we want silently. It's not that we're putting our criterion on the table and letting them know, here's the way it works for me, it's my way or the highway. We keep that to ourselves. Obviously, we're not going to sign on the line and commit ourselves to a transaction if it doesn't work for our objectives as an investor. But negotiation starts with that objective, our criterion, and then from there, we move into our situation and we begin to be aware of the seller's situation. That word awareness, we could spend about 4 hours on. Awareness is subtle. Awareness is hearing what they say. It's hearing what they're not saying. It's observing what you see, and it's taking note of what you're not seeing. It's a very full-on radar moment and situation. Consequently, people making offers on property where they've never even met the seller, to me, that is just ridiculous. The real estate industry does a good job of trying to keep buyer and seller apart. And I can't imagine handcrafting and structuring a deal without knowing all of the seller and what their objectives are. Well, everybody has their own way of doing things, but I hope you've picked up some things that you will use to improve your real estate career and indeed improve your life. Thanks for your time and energy listening, and at Reach Returns, as always, if we can help you, you know we will.
Thank you for listening to Negotiations That Pay, advice from real estate maverick Greg Pinio. For more information on this or other Reach Returns productions, including Greg's signature real estate series Wisdom for Wealth and Foundations for Freedom, please contact us at reachreturns.com or call us toll-free at 877-REACH-66. The information on these discs is copyrighted 2004, all rights reserved.